into our second story because we got a lot more. Folks, Trump, he's making moves. He's still out there. Not only are we having the games, which, listen, it's not my fault that you're going to have to send maybe your own child to the games where they will be sacrificed. Make your child non-binary. He said that one boy and one girl will be selected, and if they're non-binary, they won't count towards the selection. As a matter of fact, they won't have a social security card in a few years. But he is determined to win over the public support. He's determined to win over my public support very clearly. And actually, I'm very disappointed. I'm very mad right now. I'm very angry. Not with Donald Trump, actually. I'm very happy with his decision in this instance, but I'm very mad at my own left-leaning individuals, particularly the Democratic Party, that they never bothered in their many years in power, that they've had power in the last 16 or 20-odd years. They never took the opportunity to just go ahead and do what Trump is doing here. Folks, Donald Trump signs a common-sense order changing marijuana's legal status, stealing weed as an issue from the left as a whole, as the right wing starts to show that it's down with the ganja. On December 18th, President Donald Trump signed an executive order in the Oval Office directing federal agencies to expedite the rescheduling of marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under the Controlled Substances Act. Trump repeatedly described the action as common sense move, emphasizing its focus on recognizing potential medical applications such as pain management, nausea, and as an alternative to opioids, while explicitly stating that it does not legalize marijuana federally for recreational use. Listen, it's a step in the right direction. I don't understand why, when Biden was in power, he never, ever once took the opportunity to bother to even think about using an executive order to reschedule it. He never bothered to. And as a result, we've delayed treatment for many other adults. We've delayed these treatments. Jesse Ventura had to go and violate laws because his wife was experiencing seizures. He had to go to Colorado to get weed because our state wasn't allowing it for medical purposes. It was insane. It was ridiculous. The rescheduling of marijuana was always on the table, and it was always accessible to any Democrat who was in office. Biden didn't do it. Obama didn't do it. Clinton didn't do it. Now Trump is going ahead and doing it. I don't know what else to say except for that's a hitter. That's a tough one to swallow as a Democrat, because you go, man, they really were down with weed. Like, remember when Kamala Harris was giggling on a podcast about how she smoked weed? She was like, I smoked before. And then you look into her background and she would keep marijuana violation prisoners in prison, extending past. She would purposefully, nonviolent drug offenders, she would keep past their dates because she needed them as firefighters for the California whatever. Because they don't know how to manage fires, so they need to get ganja smokers and keep them in prison. Listen. He went ahead and he emphasized that we're going to just do this. The order's building on the 2023 Department of Health and Human Services recommendation and a stalled 2024 proposed rule aimed to facilitate more research into cannabis and CBD benefits and risks. The rescheduling shifts marijuana from most restrictive category, Schedule 1, denoting no accepted medical use and high abuse potential, alongside drugs like heroin, to Schedule 3, indicating accepted medical use and moderate abuse potential, similar to ketamine or certain codeine products. This isn't awful, by the way. This change, once finalized by the DEA, would ease barriers to medical research, allowing state legal cannabis businesses to claim federal tax deductions previously barred under the IRS rule, and potentially improving access for patients, including veterans. How does this not a celebratory moment, and those with chronic conditions? However, recreational marijuana remains federally illegal, and the order includes provisions to expand studies on long-term effects, particularly in vulnerable groups like adolescents. I don't have an issue with that. I don't want kids smoking weed. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm old enough to where I can say that, to where if I was 16, I wouldn't be agreeing with this. But I'm old enough to where I'm like, I don't give a shit. It doesn't affect me anymore. So sure. I actually am okay with that. I don't want kids smoking weed. I think it's bad for their brains. And if you can't admit that, I don't know what else to say except for whatever. It's better than them probably drinking. I don't know, but I would rather them just not do anything. But kids are going to get into shit. Reactions to the order, they've been mixed across the political spectrum. Cannabis industry advocates and reform groups welcomed it as a historic step towards realigning federal policy with state laws, where 24 states plus DC have legalized adult use, and public opinion, with polls showing strong support for reform. Some Democrats, like Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, called it a positive but insufficient without further insufficient without further decriminalization and banking reforms. Within Trump's own party, several Republican senators and critics opposed the move, arguing it could signal reduced harm to youth. Benefit industry profits unduly, or conflict with public health concerns. Overall, the executive order, it's the biggest federal cannabis policy shift since 1970, maybe. Full legalization, though, is going to require congressional action. It's not something that he can just sign into law. What I'm saying is I'm deeply disappointed with my party as a whole. They had every opportunity to give marijuana growers something in the 4 years that they just had, and they did not. They did not take the opportunity. They didn't bother with it. They thought that it would look too bad. It would lose them some of their moderates. Donald Trump doesn't care because he realizes a lot of people are loyal to him as an idealist, not really to the party, which, whatever. All I'm saying is that maybe if Biden did a little more brave moves, he would have had a chance. I would have voted for him still. If he went ahead and legalized or reduced the scheduling of marijuana, I would have voted for him in opposition to Kamala Harris. I would have said, on your feet, Joe. Time to go.
Today I'm pleased to announce that I will be signing an executive order to reschedule marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 controlled substance with legitimate medical uses. We have people begging for me to do this, people that are in great pain. For decades, this action has been requested by American patients suffering from extreme pain, incurable diseases, aggressive cancers, seizure disorders, neurological problems, and more, including numerous veterans with service-related injuries and older Americans who live with...
By the way, this is huge. I know veterans who use marijuana for their personal pain they may experience. I know people who actually they have real chronic issues. I do it just because I'm a junkie. I'm not going to lie to you, and I like to feel a certain way. But these people, they need it. They need this sort of medicine, and it is a medicine for some people. That's true. And it helps me get through the day, but that's not a medicine, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, oh, you're a pothead, that's what it is. Okay, sure, I'll accept that. I don't give a shit.
With chronic medical problems that severely degrade their quality of life. And it's so really, I can't tell you, I think I probably have received more phone calls on this, on doing what we're doing. I don't think I received any calls on the other side of it, but hopefully this reclassification, which by the way polls at 82%, will help many of those patients live a far better life. We're
nice.
joined today by Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is doing a fantastic job, Administrator of Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz. FDA Commissioner, Dr. Marty McCary, Director of the
Dr.
National
Marty
Institutes of
McFly.
Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, and the Director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, Dr. Nora Valkow, as well as Dr. Ilana Braun from the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Duke University's Dr. David Casseret, the National Commander of the American Legion, Dan Wiley, and my friend Howard Kessler. Howard, how are you feeling? I'm telling you, he looks better than he did 20 years ago. But I don't want to go through what you went through to get there. But it looks like you're doing great. I'm proud of you. I want to emphasize that the order I am about to sign is not the legalization, or it doesn't legalize marijuana in any way, shape, or form, and in no way sanctions its use as a recreational drug. It has nothing to do with it. Just as the prescription painkillers may have legitimate uses, but can also do irreversible damage and never, if you look at some of the damage that can be caused, wreck lives, and
it can.
Abused.
Like any other drug, and if you're too much of a pothead to admit that, I don't know what else to say except for get in touch with reality a little bit. You might be a little too in touch with the grass, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Go out and touch real grass. Not the type that you get sticky and that you have in a jar, you weirdo, you nut. Go out and, feel the grass a little bit. I know it's winter. I know it might be tough. Go feel the snow then. I don't know. Maybe it'll wake you up.
It's never safe to use powerful controlled substances in recreational manners, and especially in this case, if you take a look, illegal and unregulated drugs, very, very bad thing. So I've always told my children, don't take drugs, no drinking, no smoking, and just stay away from drugs. I have been, they would look at me, they said, Dad, would you stop saying that? I would say it every time I looked at it practically. Young Americans are especially at risk, so unless a drug is recommended by a doctor for medical reasons, just don't do it. At the same time, the facts compel the federal government to recognize that marijuana can be legitimate in terms of medical applications when carefully
Don't do it, you
administered
guys.
in some cases. This may include the use as a substitute for addictive and potentially lethal opioid painkillers. They cause tremendous problems. This can do it in a much lesser way and make people feel much better that are living through tremendous pain and problems. 40 states and multiple U.S. territories have already recognized the use of medical marijuana. This reclassification order will make it far easier to conduct marijuana-related medical research, allowing us to study benefits, potential dangers, and future treatments. It's going to have a tremendously positive impact, I believe.
Well, there you go, folks. I mean, he signed it. It's his signature's on the paper. I mean, it's a good move. There's nothing else to say about it except for the fact that it's a good move, and I'm really disastrously disappointed with Democrats. That was a lot of D's, you know what I mean? I alliterated a little bit accidentally. I'm not a fan of the fact that we were so cowardly. We were so slow to move on this. We were so pussyfooting around about this that we lost this issue, and I'm sorry. The Republicans, the right wing, this is the chance for them to steal a really big one for a lot of folks, and it's I'm like, come on. We really couldn't get behind this one after all this time. You couldn't realize that maybe just rescheduling for medical purposes, maybe that would have been good for Biden to do because the bro has cancer. Maybe if he had smoked a little bit. I'm not saying that it prevents cancer. That's ridiculous to say. But maybe metastatic wouldn't have been the instance that it would have been at if he would have went ahead and lit up every now and then. I don't know. Maybe that's just a suggestion. Maybe that is. I don't know, folks. I don't know. But this is a win. This is a win, and it's a loss for the left. I'm sorry. It sucks. But you win some, you lose some. You win some, you lose some.